Good morning subscribers, it's Economics here once again, and today I'm bringing you I'll call this a thoughts on the Year 2 A-Level micro examination rather than predictions, because having had a look back through the previous question papers, I think the whole notion of predicting this is a little bit tricky, but maybe there are some things which we can learn and glean from the sample papers, the practice papers, and obviously the June 2017 paper. As ever, just before I get started, you can contact me, geekonomics.co.uk/contact, Twitter @G_Economics, Instagram G_Economics also. So, let me just explain what I've done and what you can see behind me, ladies and gentlemen. So I have been through the sample paper, the two practice papers, and the June 2017 paper, just picking out a few things, and those things are as follows. Number one, what's the topic of the case study? Number two, what are the general sort of key themes arising in the questions as a consequence of that particular case study, and then where has the essay focus been in each particular exam session. So I've done that there are 4 past papers, ladies and gents. So if you go to the OCR website, you'll get the sample papers. Your teachers, I'm sure, have provided you with the 2 practice papers which are available. So one of those was put out in April 2016 and one in December 2016. If you haven't got those, I'll try and put a link somewhere down below where you can access all of this. And obviously the mark schemes there as well. And then finally, we have, of course, the June 2017 paper. So let me just talk about the case studies first of all. So case study 1 on the sample paper was about the UK cement and ready-mix concrete market. So again, this was to do with market structures and oligopolies really. I'll leave practice paper 1 because it's a little bit of an anomaly here. So let's flick to practice paper 2, where we had the economics of supermarkets. Again, that whole notion of oligopoly, concentration ratios, etc. And then finally, in June 2017, we had the economics of railways, where we're talking about competition, TOCs, train operating companies, and so on. I think that's really important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, historically, if we go back to the legacy paper, the micro paper was all about the economics of transport. It was focused primarily on transport. And if you didn't do transport, you did leisure instead, so the economics of leisure. So looking at things such as cinema markets and the market structure within the cinema industry. So I think you've got to look at what went before, and so what that could lead to in the forthcoming paper. So given that, we've had transport, supermarkets, sorry, where am I? Let me get my thoughts together here. We've had supermarkets, we've had transport, and what was the other one? ready-mix. So I think it might be reasonable to anticipate that you might get a case study this year, either focusing on airports, which is a potential one, especially a third runway at Heathrow, or build a new airport and runway and so on. So that's something which is quite current and has been in the news for the last couple of years. Or what about the cinema industry, given the sort of legacy of this particular examination and the fact that cinemas used to be featured quite often, so that's something to consider. And so at the bottom of this document, ladies and gentlemen, I have been just digging around and gathering together a whole host of web links which I think you'll find useful if you wanted to just gen up on UK cinema industry and airports. So again, I'll put a little link to these down below where you can find these. Now, there is a recurring theme, ladies and gentlemen, with regard to the themes which do arise from one session to the next, and particularly for your essay. So the essay focus, got this written here, the essay focus tends to focus on either labour markets, public and private provision, be that nationalisation contrasting with privatisation, or be it moving from monopoly to more competitive market structures, all that comparison element. Quite often there's an essay on some aspect of demand and supply and how that impacts prices in various markets. Remember, you do have to focus on some key markets such as commodities and housing. And again, that whole notion of market structures is a recurring theme. So I think it's not really possible to go through the spec, because I've been through it and I've sort of scrubbed off elements which have been assessed in the past. So there's the page there for market structures, for example. And you're basically scrubbing everything off, but the themes do reoccur. So I think it would be best advice would be really know your labour markets, really know your market structures, and really know your demand and supply analysis really well. I think that will stand you in very good stead for this particular exam. And then finally, let's just go back to practice paper 1, which was on the Danube River Basin. So that was focusing really on externalities, whereas the others were more on market structures and labour markets. And so I think, given that that's only been on once before, maybe you should be focusing and really hotting up and genning up on the last couple of pages of the microeconomic specification and really know well all of these market failures, the remedies, and then of course the government failures that arise as a consequence. So I'm sorry I can't predict any more clearly than that, but hopefully there's a few good things for you to go out there in the run-up in the next few weeks to your exam. So as ever, if you have any questions, do get in contact. Otherwise, use the links below, and I hope the revision's going well. Bye for now.